Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. Today we're going to be discussing NXT from March the 15th, 2022. So there's not much in the way of news and notes except for there was some suggested signings that were going to be occurring. Apparently Booker T's student Roxy has been signed, and so has Santino Marella's daughter Bianca Corelli. Now, I don't know that much about Bianca Corelli. I think I've seen her maybe once or twice on the Independents. I was shocked to figure out she was 28 years old. I was like, wow! I didn't know how old Santino was. Okay. After looking how old he was, he's almost 50, so it makes sense now. In any event, WWE is also going to be expanding their NIL program. They've signed up a partnership with this organization. I think it's INCLFR or whatever. I think it's Influencer. I think it's what it's supposed to pronounce. It's supposed to have some kind of relationship with the Division I schools to help WWE find and recruit talent. And it's okay, but there haven't been a performance center class in a while. And that's why I mentioned Roxy and Bianca Corelli, because it seemed like they might be in the next announced Performance Center class. You also have tryouts over WrestleMania weekend, so that ought to be interesting. You ought to probably be seeing videos of random people popping up at those things, which almost always occurs. There's almost always videos of random youngins at the tryouts, and people are posting videos of it. So we don't know who shows up to the tryouts and whether these people are really signed or not. I think Booker T jumped the gun before and said that Roxy was signed and she wasn't really signed. And then later on they said she was signed again. I think the same thing happened with Santino's daughter, where he said she was signed and then it came out that she wasn't really signed. Now he's saying it again. So we'll see when the next Performance Center group drops, but it is what it is. So that's pretty much all the news and notes for NXT. I couldn't really find anything else. I mean, the whole Scott Hall thing kind of threw me for a loop when it comes to wrestling. I only watch the shows now. I don't look at the media. I just don't. It's all Scott Hall all the time, and that's my childhood, man. It reminds me I'm getting really old. Anyway, let's get to the show, because the show was super fun. NXT, once again, just throw shit at the wall, and you either like it or you don't like it. I happen to love the absurdity of NXT. There's some stuff on this show that is absolutely absurd, and I love it. For instance, The Miz is the first face you see on NXT, because he's going to host Miz TV featuring Dolph Ziggler. So Dolph Ziggler cuts his promo about 15 years of hustling, and says he always been the best, and he making the championship, and it makes the championship run he's on now feel much better. And he says, "We are NXT, brother," to him and The Miz. And they're in the ring talking about how rich they are. They cut to camera saying that Braun Breaker is not going to come out there and interrupt them, because Braun Breaker, who was acting an ass in the Performance Center earlier in the day, was marching through the building looking for Dolph. Couldn't find him. Matt Bloom sent him away. The head coach got rid of him. So now they're in the ring like, oh yeah, we can really party it up now. Braun Breaker is gone. This only opens the door for LA Knight. LA Knight comes out there to a monster reaction. Absolute monster reaction. Congrats Dolph Ziggler on winning the title. Says if Bryan can't challenge for the belt, then he will. Dolph Ziggler says he only fights superstars, which Miz concurred and says that LA Knight is not a superstar. LA Knight says, "You're right, I'm a megastar, and if you say NXT belongs to you, well then I'm a show me guy. You have to show me." The interesting thing, the funny thing about this is how Miz and Dolph Ziggler kept referring to LA Knight as kid and telling him that he might make it someday. Like, this guy's not like 41. Like, all these dudes are the same fucking age, Like, all of these dudes are in the same age bracket. They could have gone to school together. And I think they're probably 2 or 3 years apart, So it was hilarious having Miz and Dolph Ziggler talk to LA Knight like he's some young boy. Which I'm guessing is like they were told to do, because they do it to Tommaso Ciampa as well. Is they steadily talk to these guys like they're little kids. Anyway, so the match was set, Dolph Ziggler versus LA Knight in the main event of the evening. But first, Volta went to have a conversation with LA Knight because he doesn't really like LA Knight and all that talking. Wait a minute, his name was not Walter, his name was Gunther. So Gunther went up to LA Knight and says that he doesn't appreciate all the talking that LA Knight does, and it's a disrespect and embarrassment to this great sport. LA Knight says, you got a problem with my mouth, but it's called charisma. If you look around, you might find it. Then says, if you want the first shot after I win the NXT title, you got it. But I got a match to get ready for. And I'm all about this LA Knight Gunther thing. I'm all about it. See the skinny, svelte Gunther, the skinnier Walter. He looks so weird. He looks so awkward. I think he lost some of that intimidation factor with him losing so much weight. At the same time, it was great for his physique and everything. And I think also the talking that he's doing now, he's talking a lot more. So he's kind of exposing the character a little bit more. As opposed to being the strong, silent type that he was on NXT UK. And it was very rare for him to even talk. At the same time, it's kind of necessary for him to talk. For him to be able to get over and convey the ideas that the character has in his mind. NXT UK, you could get around not talking because it's a very wrestling heavy product. On NXT 2.0, as they started calling it, you do need to talk, So that's it's going to take taking a time to get used to it for both Walter and the audience. Because a lot of people are not going to be used to Walter talking so much. And he's also probably not going to be used to us talking so much. And him with the weight loss, his intimidation factor has shrunk a little bit. And he's kind of been overexposed, as far as being on TV. He's on TV a lot more. He's not on TV a lot, but he's on TV right now a lot more than he was on NXT UK. Strangely enough, like there will be times where you wouldn't see Walter for over a month in NXT UK. Now he's on TV every other week. So, he's being exposed a little bit more. And it's going to be a transitional period where, we're going to have to get used to him. And I guess you also got to find a main event spot for him because you can't put the guy in the mid card. So you're waiting for a main event spot to open up. But LA Knight is a good feud for him. I love that. I love that idea. So, Dolph Ziggler versus LA Knight is the main event of the evening. This match was pretty good. Little Robert Roode interference. Super kick finish. During the match, Braun Breaker returned. He marched to the building after getting told to go away by Matt Bloom. Dolph Ziggler and LA Knight have a pretty good match out there. Dolph wins relatively clean. There were some shenanigans from Robert Roode, but it didn't directly change the finish, I don't think. So after the match, Braun Breaker marched to the ring. Some people are booing him. Some folks were chanting he's a loser at Braun Breaker. Braun's getting a rough go of it. I see why he took the belt off of him. So he gets in the ring. He demands his championship match at Stand and Deliver. Dolph accepts. Robert Roode gets in Braun's face. He gets dropped. Because of course we got to have Braun versus Robert Roode. That's got to happen. So all in all, this was all good. I like the idea of LA Knight being there. I would have liked for LA Knight to be cost the title, have Gunther. But at the same time, Imperium, they haven't quite gone the route of hypocrites yet. Like you would think that with the standards and everything that they have, the easy way to get heat would be for them to be hypocrites. But they haven't gone that route. That's when they had that conversation between Gunther and LA Knight. I thought, okay, Gunther is going to interfere and cost LA Knight the title. But they didn't go that route. So I was like, oh, okay. That's interesting. That's different. If he was still feuding with Grayson, he probably would have had Grayson interfere and cost him the title. And of course, you could say, why was he getting a title match? He lost to Grayson. That's a good question. I don't have no answer for it. The only answer I have is that the guy's super fucking over and the fans were willing to accept it. And that's about as much as you can get out of it It's like, is the guy super over? Yep. Then like, I guess it doesn't matter that he lost last week. So the Ziggler and Brian Breaker stuff is pretty short and tight and to the point. Nothing extra, nothing over the top. It's been a pretty simple story. I expect Ziggler to drop the title right back to him, but it's been okay. So Cora Jade, she had an evening. Cora Jade says that Toxic Attraction are going to pay because Raquel Gonzalez is going to be out for the next 4 to 6 weeks. And she went around stealing all their championship belts. And she had them on her person. Then she says that Toxic Attraction are going to come looking for her. So she doesn't have to go looking for them. So Toxic Attraction, the first place they went to do is they went to see Dakota Kai and Wendy Chu to try to get them to help to find Cora Jade. But they're baby faces now. So they're like, no, we didn't want your help. And then Mandy Rose says, look, you got our help. Now you shut your mouths and actually go win the Dusty Cup next week. So we don't have to deal with Io Shirai and Kaylee Ray anymore. But Wendy and Dakota didn't seem like they were on that page. In any event, JC Jane found her belt first. It was dangling from a thingamajig. It was like a steel beam or whatever. So she walked up to it. She kind of figured it might be a little too easy to find. She reaches up, kind of touches it, figures not that big of a deal. She pulls on it, and a string is attached to it, and it cages her in, and the cage is locked by Cora Jade. So now we've got Looney Tunes pranks now. And if you are, let's say, one of those people that you're kind of like, this is fucking stupid, I'm sorry, but this reminded me a lot of when Steve Austin did it to DX, and he had these traps where they was like mice, and so I was kind of like, okay, I'm glad they kind of brought this out. I like this. So JC Jane gets caged as she collects her title. Gigi Dolan is walking around looking for her belt. She ends up finding it in the flap of a garbage can lid. So she has to crawl into the garbage in order to get it. As soon as she does, the lid closes and she's trapped inside by a forklift. Cora Jade calls her trash and says that she didn't know trash could talk. And then Cora Jade has locked up Gigi Dolan. So then she goes out to the parking lot, the most dangerous place in the entire WWE universe, and probably the most dangerous place in the state of Florida, is that NXT parking lot. I mean, it is absolutely lawless. In any event, Cora Jade has a spray can and she has the NXT women's title, and she's saying to herself, what can I do? And she thinks about maybe spray painting Mandy's car. Then she considers spray painting the title. And then she says, you know what? This is the NXT Women's Championship. This is my goal. This is something that I want. So she decides not to desecrate the belt. Very interesting story element here. Instead, she's just going to take the belt and go home. So she gets into I'm guessing it was her car, or was it Mandy's car? I don't remember which one it was. And Mandy's in the back seat, a la The Undertaker. And Cora Jade's like, what the hell? So they fight, and they fight, and they fight, and they fight. Fight. And Mandy Rose wins the fight. She utterly demolishes Cora Jade in this parking lot, just beats the tar out of her in the parking lot. And then spray painted Cora Jade back with the silver spray paint, called her a bitch, and that it will be the match for Stand and Deliver. It will be Cora Jade versus Mandy Rose for the NXT Women's title. I like this. I liked all of this. Look, as implausible as it is that Cora Jade would be crafty enough to create these elaborate traps, like, and treating them like mice. And then, of course, it makes no sense to trap them at this point in time. Like, if this was Stand and Deliver, and she was trapping them, and so they can't interfere in the match, that would make a lot more sense, right? Trapping them now, it kind of feels like, I don't know, a little premature. Because, now they're going to have the opportunity to interfere, and now they have a reason to want to beat her up again. So I liked it because I was willing to suspend my disbelief on the subject of Cora Jade being able to capture grown women in cages and in garbage can lids. So, and plus it's silly. It's some silly shit, man. And if you're going to go out there and put on a pro wrestling show, it might as well be silly as shit. It might as well be over the top, and NXT is that. Next, what's technically the first match on the show, Cameron Grimes versus Santos Escobar. They have a hell of a match. Carmelo Hayes is on commentary. He takes full credit for getting rid of Pete Dunne, saying he sent him to another brand and made him change his name. He also said that Cameron Grimes was allergic to success. Santos Escobar wins with the Phantom Driver as he counters the cave-in. And it seemed like for the first time in forever, Santos Escobar won a match clean. It feels like it might be the first time that Santos Escobar has won a match clean this year. And matter of fact, it might be the first time he won a match clean in forever. I don't remember when the last time he won a match clean. This match, I was kind of pissed because there was no introductions. I like the fact that Santos Escobar had his full intro regalia on with the mask and everything, and I was kind of looking forward to his entrance. But this was a problem that plagued the entire show, which we're going to talk about later because I got on Rampage for this. NXT is no different, especially with the Akid thing. We'll talk about that when we get there. But for fuck's sake, please give people their entrances. I'm begging you. Anyway, Santos Escobar was very excited about being the winner of this match. And then he says that Stand and Deliver will be his time. He is the greatest luchador of all time and will take Lucha Libre into the future. This is when Dominic and Rey Mysterio appear to a monster reaction. And Santos Escobar shakes Rey's hand. Is very cordial to Rey. Joaquin and Raul are behind Santos Escobar, whispering to each other like little girls, so excited to see Rey. And Santos Escobar peeks over his shoulder like, if you two marks don't shut the fuck up. And so they kind of tighten up like, all right, who cares about Rey Mysterio? So Rey and Dom, they talk. Rey says that Dominic will be the one that will be taking Lucha Libre into the future. And Dominic says that Rey is the greatest luchador of all time. And Santos Escobar didn't like either one of those comments. So the Legado del Fantasma has a problem with the Mysterios. This can only be settled by Dominic getting challenged to a match by Raul Mendoza. So Raul Mendoza is going to wrestle Dominic Mysterio. And Dominic Mysterio got the pop of a lifetime. He got a goddamn Road Warrior pop when he came out for this match with Raul Mendoza. I was absolutely stunned at the pop that he got for this match. I was like, what? Nobody likes this fucking kid. Like, nobody likes fucking Dominic at this point. He's been around for a couple of years. Some people have been pretty patient with his development. Other people have not been. But, I'm okay with Dom. I just think that his promo ability really needs some work. Still, he got a huge reaction. They then immediately turned on Dom by chanting, "You don't go here" at him. So this NXT audience, they going rogue, dog. For starters, they popped huge for him when he came out there. But within seconds, they settled down and was like, "You don't go here." Clap, 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 clap. "You don't go here." And then they started chanting, what was that? Whatever chant they do for Legado del Fantasma, they was doing that. So Raul Mendoza and Dominic Mysterio are exchanging some Lucha Libre moves, which basically means that Raul Mendoza is trying to do Lucha Libre moves, and Dominic is thinking too much, and clearly is doing this thing as slowly as possible. Elektra Lopez jumps up on the ring apron and distracts Dominic with her fine ass. Then Fallon Henley pulls her off the apron. She is, getting in Fallon Henry's face. Joaquin and Santos are behind her. Briggs and Jensen start they appear out of nowhere, like literally out of nowhere. I don't know where they came from. Under the ring, from behind the timekeeper. Where are they hiding? And they back up Fallon Henley. Ray comes over there and clocks Santos Escobar. Raul Mendoza gets hit with a 619 and then pinned with the frog splash. And so Dominic Mysterio wins his NXT debut. And we all believe, and I believe it should be 100%. Dominic should stay in NXT, right? I mean, everybody knows Dominic should probably stay. And you can do whatever you want with Dominic, because he's a malleable piece of clay at this point. He's just been son of Rey Mysterio. He has so many other options. And I can fantasy book some crazy stuff involving Dominic. That could just be fun shit. And you could do it on the main roster where a lot of people can see it, or you could do it on NXT. I never really considered, in my whole time of saying that Legado del Fantasma and the Mysterios need to feud, I never considered that Ray would come to NXT. I would always say Legado del Fantasma has to go to SmackDown or go to Raw, wherever the Mysterios are. But them in NXT opens up more opportunities, more freedom, especially for Dominic, because it would essentially be a Dominic story. You can't really change Ray too much. Ray is, an eternal babyface, an eternal hero, unless you're going to flip him heel, which is almost impossible because he's Rey Mysterio. It would have to be a Dominic story. So you can do whatever you want with Dominic, and you can do it on NXT. So they're now embroiled with Legado del Fantasma. I love this. There's just no shadow of a doubt. I love Legado del Fantasma versus the Mysterios. Fantastic shit. Should it be happening at WrestleMania? Sure. Stand and deliver. Good enough. Now, Escobar is in the ladder match. They announced the other ladder match contestants. We'll talk about that in a moment. So we can't do Ray versus Santos Escobar on Stand and Deliver. We'll probably get it on NXT TV, which would be glorious. Glorious. Absolutely. That would be fantastic. Great. Great stuff. So the other half of that match was Cameron Grimes. And Cameron Grimes is down and out. Cameron Grimes is very upset. While Santos Escobar he's going to the moon because he won a match clean finally. He's getting another title shot. He's, in a situation with Rey Mysterio. Everything's looking good for Santos, baby. It's a good time to be a Legado del Fantasma fan. Not such a good time if you're a fan of Cameron Grimes. Cameron Grimes is upset, says all he has done is disappoint, and says that he's been talking about going to the moon, but he doesn't seem to be going anywhere. And then he says that I wanted to be at Stand and Deliver. I wanted to win that North American title. And he says that the last thing he told his dad is that he was signing to WWE. And he told his dad he was going to be a champion. And that was 3 years ago. And 3 years later, he's still disappointed. And he walked off. That hit hard. Especially since I did see the story that Cameron Grimes' father passed away. I think he passed away 2 or 3 years ago, though. But it's been a tough road for him, And his dad was like one of his number one supporters. So him using his dad in the storyline here is pretty interesting. That's pretty interesting. I wonder where we're going with this. He's a big enough star on NXT. He's been in NXT long enough where you could say, all right, it's time for the call up. But he's also got enough legs remaining in NXT where you could say, okay, it's time for him to go to the next level, whatever that next level is. But he is sort of kind of hit a peak where, especially as a babyface. And it's weird that they don't count his $1 million championship win as a championship win. I guess because he never really defended the title, or like I suggested in previous videos, it wasn't the real title anyway. So it's entirely possible. It's also a non-sanctioned belt, so who knows? Who knows what they're going with this? But I'm interested, very very interested in what's going on with Cameron Grimes. So with that, we continue in the North American Championship scene. So next week, Grayson Waller is going to wrestle the winner of Kushida and Akid. Kushida versus Akid was the second match on the show. It was a fun match, but this is Akid's big debut. This is his debut in NXT, and he doesn't get an entrance. He does not get an entrance. In fact, he's already in the ring, and we already get Kushida got a 1/6 of an entrance, 1/8 of an entrance. We got to hear that he comes out to jacket time thing, and he was still wearing his jacket, and that was it. Akid was in the corner in the dark, like some job guy. It was absolutely ridiculous. They took the time to make vignettes for this guy. They made vignette for him last week. They made an all new, different vignette for him this week. They didn't even play the same vignette twice. And he doesn't get an entrance? What? How am I supposed to believe that this guy is, to be taken seriously if you don't give him an entrance? It's the same thing with Kushida. Like, I know that they basically turned Kushida into Jobber to the Stars. That sucks. But at the same time, I understand it. He's a little bit older. He's a tag team guy now. It is what it is. But I think that it's sad because that's what he left. He left New Japan because they was basically turning him into this. He left New Japan because they were like, hey, you're an older junior guy. It's time to start putting guys over. And he was kind of like, wait a minute, I've been doing this for years already. Let's go to the United States and see what I can do. And now he's here, and it just so happens that by the time he really kind of gets settled into the States, NXT gets blown up. And now it's NXT 2.0. And now, he's stuck with Ikemenjiro, who is a human anime character. I don't know. I feel bad for Kushida because I really liked Kushida, but he's still around. They're not firing him. I'm pretty sure he's got something going for him at least. But Akid is really good. We didn't get a promo out of him. We didn't get to hear his theme song. I think they played it a little bit after he won, so it sounded like his theme song is the same theme from NXT UK, which is a banger. It's a really good theme. So hopefully it's the same. And the match was good, but he had a different finisher. He used some kind of DDT thing in this match when his finisher was like a running kick to the face. Akid, if you have not, you're not familiar with him and you're interested, he has great matches with Walter, Ilya Dragunov, Noam Dar, Tyler Bate. He has some bangers with Tyler Bate. Had a really good match with that Nathan Frazier dude. He's a really good wrestler, but he's a mechanic. Not much on the personality, not much on character, and he will definitely get put in the boot camp. He's also very small. He's very small. So he's definitely going to get that boot camp treatment in NXT where they're going to say, okay, whatever you were doing in NXT UK, death to it. You come over here, it's time to start playing a character, time to get a personality. They may even change his name. And I'm expecting that, actually, because he wrestled on the Independents as Akid. So I'm guessing they're going to change his name. And that may be why he didn't get an entrance, is because they wanted to debut him as Akid, but over time they're going to change his name and change his music and give him a character and everything. I just hope he doesn't end up like El Matador. Because he's from Spain. They're going to turn him into Vega from Street Fighter or some shit. Here, put on this mask. Here's have one claw. And, some shit like that. What else is there in Spain? You got Vega from Street Fighter. You got, a soccer player? You're going to turn him into like some kind of weirdo soccer player or something like that? Like, I don't know, man. But Akid, he's in for it. He's about to get a lesson. I'm laughing because it's sadistic. I know WWE, they like to torture small guys like him. They really, hopefully they don't fuck him over too bad. He's going to get it. It's coming. The name change, gimmick change, it's coming. It's just all about how painful is it going to be. Hopefully he's ready. The third match on the show featured Tiffany Stratton versus Saray. So this beef is based off of Tiffany Stratton trying to help Saray and trying to get Saray a nicer necklace, to which Saray, because it's her grandma's necklace, said, no, thank you. And Tiffany Stratton was very triggered by that and, decided to run her head against a wall a couple of times. Real bully shit. So in this match, because Tiffany Stratton cost her match against Fallon Henley last week because Saray kicked her in the back of the head, Tiffany Stratton decided to return the favor. And then she attacked Saray while she was backstage. So Saray didn't get a chance to do her transformation in the tunnel. And because of that, Saray was basically schoolgirl Saray and just got thoroughly beat across the head and neck by Tiffany Stratton and then pinned. Wild stuff. Very wild stuff. I heard the screeching of 10,000 neckbeards when Saray got beat by Tiffany Stratton in like 2 minutes. It was a squash match, essentially, but it wasn't technically a squash match because Saray never really got out of the box. She was attacked from behind during her entrance, and she never really was able to get any offense. She was continuously beat from the backstage area up to the ring, so it wasn't like she got hit once, and then she had a chance to, gain her bearings or anything like that. She never really was able to collect herself. And so the referee really did her a disservice by ringing the bell, but that's just kind of how WWE is and wrestling in general. Is you get jumped, beat up, and the referee makes the decision that the wrestler can decide if they want to continue or not, which of course doesn't make any sense. In real sports like boxing or UFC or whatever, if you get hurt before the match, they call the match off, but this is pro wrestling. And that's a good storytelling thing, that you could attack a guy before the bell. So, but the referee listening to the wrestler is pretty weird. It's like if the boxers and MMA fighters could tell the referee, yeah, I can keep going. As this guy can't count, he's tasting blue. He's like, I can go, ref. You two, the other ref. Like, ain't no two referees. Wait a minute, let's stop this. But he said he's okay, so go ahead. Like, go right ahead. Finish up that concussion real quick. No point in half-assing it. So, Tiffany Stratton beat her really quickly. Tiffany Stratton is not going to learn anything from having short matches. But the point of this match was to tell the story of Saray, of course. That she needs to transform in order to be a formidable fighter. Otherwise, she's regular schoolgirl Saray. I don't necessarily think that should be the case. But, that's the story that they're telling. And, okay, if they want to say that she is stronger, better as in her transformed state, then fine. I just wish they didn't do that. But at least it makes sense. If you attack somebody in the street before they prepare, you'd win that fight too. So, screeching of 10,000 neckbeards. I hear that shit in my sleep sometimes, man. I certainly heard it over the internet when this thing happened. Saray lost? Ah! I was like, oh boy. The amount of anger and frustration off that tip. All right, let's talk about Tommaso Ciampa, because he cut one hell of a promo. And I wouldn't really call it a promo, because a promo is short for promotion. You're promoting something. In this situation, and it's becoming more and more regular in talking segments, which is probably better to call them. They're not really promoting anything. Tommaso Ciampa didn't promote anything in this speech that he was doing. This was a goodbye to NXT speech. And he talked about being in the business for 15 years or something like that. Looking for a place to call home, looking for a place where he could be the man, where he could be the guy, where a guy like him could get a chance to run with the ball. He found that in NXT. Then he says that he thought for years he was going to have to do this all on his own. It's going to be a DIY project. But he said it wasn't. He always had the fans to cheer or boo him. And he says that when he came, NXT TakeOver New Orleans, and he came out to no theme music, and it was just boos, that it was telling the office, like, this guy, Tommaso Ciampa, could be the guy. The crowd starts chanting, "You're the guy. Thank you, Ciampa. Please don't go." And then he says that You know, a lot of guys came to NXT. A lot of them left. I never left. He said, you guys never left. You know, and he thanked them for never leaving. Then he says that he's been trying to figure out what his fairy tale ending is. And that he wanted to go into WrestleMania weekend as the NXT champion. And that he had the opportunity before, but he was injured and he had to relinquish the title. And he said this time he had the match and he lost. So he doesn't know what's next for him. And he says, how do we close this chapter? And then he says that he's not really sure. He's going to have to figure it out. Then he thanked the crowd for coming. And that was it. And then behind him, because he's talking to the hard camera, he's walking around talking to the audience. And you see Tony D'Angelo. And Tony D'Angelo just has that look in his eye, like he's up to no good. Ciampa sees him. Tony D'Angelo has the crowbar in his hands. And then Tony D'Angelo throws the crowbar down. And then he says, look, I did a thing. You know, I could have hit you with this crowbar. I could have took your head off. But I didn't do that. I didn't do that because I respect you. And he says, I was sitting at home thinking about how I could go to the next level. How could I make a bigger impact? Who could be the guy that could take me to the next level? Who do I have to beat to become the man around here? And then he says that now I know that you're that guy. Tommaso Ciampa is the man to beat in NXT. Then he said it would be an honor for me to fight you at Stand and Deliver. You know, be an honor for the family. He put his hands out. Tommaso Ciampa shook his hand. The crowd cheers. And then Tony D'Angelo knees him in the nuts. Knees him right in the balls. And says that it was always going to be Ciampa. And that, you know, he's about to be the new Don of NXT. Then he gives him the kiss of death on the cheek, as Italians do. I'm pretty sure Tommaso Ciampa gets it. He understands. He's Italian. Ciampa is his name is Tommaso. Tomato Ciampa. Tony D'Angelo versus Tommaso Ciampa. All of this is wonderful. All this is fantastic. Ciampa clearly is on his way to Raw. But he's not done. He still has some unfinished business. Tony D'Angelo needs this win. I don't know if I like the idea of Ciampa losing on his way out. Look, everybody's supposed to. You're supposed to lose on your way out. You know? That's what you do. You lose and you say bye-bye. You know? So I think in order to get Tony D'Angelo to the next level where he wants to be, where he needs to be, you do kind of have to beat Tommaso Ciampa on his way out. You know? But since Ciampa just lost a match, he has to win at least one match, maybe two, to get back in the winning column, so that he'll remain strong with momentum for Tony D'Angelo to beat him. You know, I don't want him to lose the triple threat match and then not have a match in between and then just lose to Tony D'Angelo. That would be a bunch of bullshit. You know, it is what it is. But I love this. I like the idea. I like the execution. How Tony D'Angelo, you know, he could have hit him with the pipe, but he decided not to. You know, and he tried to make this whole thing about respect and about honor and, you know, elevating yourself. Because that's really what Tommaso Ciampa is talking about. Tommaso Ciampa was talking about, how can I elevate myself? You know, I wanted an opportunity to become the guy. And now he's in a situation where Tony D'Angelo just wants the same thing. He wants an opportunity to become the guy. Ciampa's not going to deny him that, you know, and he's not going to turn down a fight. But Tony D'Angelo is also a scumbag, so he needs him in the nuts. I'm telling you, man, watching wrestling while perusing the internet sometimes is really grim, and you know, you kind of get pissed. Other times you just be so surprised at what bothers people. Like, so many people were so upset at Tony D'Angelo kneeing him in the nuts. You know, they ruined the promo. They ruined that segment. I'm like, what the fuck do you think Heat is supposed to do? What do you think Heat is supposed to do? I mean, either or. It would have been fine. Not fine. But they were showing vignettes of Tony D'Angelo and, him talking about being the Don of NXT. And we figure, okay, what was going to happen here? What's going on? And they answered that question right here with he's going to wrestle Tommaso Ciampa. That was fine with me. I know some people think that he shouldn't have interrupted his going away party, but fuck that. He stood in the ring and he talked for like 10 minutes. Again, man, I said this when they was doing the whole CM Punk stuff. Let the guy get out what he has to say, but it needs to turn into an angle. You need to, at some point, make some money off this thing. And if you are a fan and you're interested in Tommaso Ciampa, you know that, okay, he wanted to go out his own way. He wants to have a fairy tale ending. The best thing he's got to do now is shut up that punk Tony D'Angelo. That's the best he can do right now. And guess what? That works because Tony D'Angelo is fighting for something. He's fighting for his spot. He's fighting to be elevated. He wants more. He thinks that this is going to make him the guy. So I'm cool with this. I love this. I like the match too. I've always said Tony D'Angelo, it reminds me a lot of Razor Ramon. The vignettes, how the character catches on almost immediately, how he has a cool heel feel to him. Like the people so quickly bought into Tony D'Angelo's talk about respect. It's like under normal circumstances, people would be like, oh, he's full of shit because he's a heel. But in this instance, when he put the pipe down and he was just kind of talking to Ciampa, he kind of tried to relate to him, So people kind of bought in. So when they shook hands, they were like, oh, okay, Tony D, he's all right. And then he kneed him in the nuts. And I was like, okay, well, he's a scumbag. He's still a scumbag. So that's great. I love Tony D'Angelo. He reminds me so much of Razor Ramon. I don't know if he's going to have that same level of success. Where I don't think it's possible, really. But you never really can tell with wrestling these days, man. It's very hard to tell people what's actually going to catch on and what's not. But I like Tony D'Angelo, and he reminds me of like a Razor Ramon for this generation. And I think that if they do it properly with the vignettes and allowing the character to grow, and for him to actually get wins, because he's been losing a lot in these feuds. He started getting some wins, started getting some momentum. He might actually be able to, get at least to the same or similar level of early stage Razor Ramon. I don't know if he's going to get to the crossover star that Razor Ramon was. I don't think he could ever become that because that was a different time. But for this generation, he could be, someone who could be remembered on that level. This is high praise. But this is all the big what if. All right, so the fourth match, Indy Hartwell versus Persia Pirotta. They shared an entrance. They actually came out at the same time, which is very weird. They came out together. They tried to do their tag team taunt, and they kept getting in each other's way. So they're elbowing each other, trying to hog the hard cam. So they're showing that this is not real vicious animosity between the two of them. It's more a friendly competition between these two girls. So the bell rings. They have the match. Duke Hudson comes out there. Duke Hudson distracts Indy. Very, very weird. Then Dexter Lumis comes out there and he distracts Persia Pirotta. Indy wins with a roll up. So they got out of this pretty quickly without them two really, beating the hell out of each other. They didn't do anything to one another where you could say they can't go back to being friends after this. So afterwards, they decided to have a competition where Persia kissed Duke Hudson. That made Indy jealous, so she kissed Dexter Lumis in the ring. Then the kisses got more passionate. And then they decided to up the stakes by ripping Duke Hudson's shirt off and jumping all over him. To which Indy Hartwell does the same thing to Dexter Lumis. And now these two women are straddling these two guys in this ring. And everybody is like, what the fuck is going on? Like the guys are shirtless on the bottom of this whole ordeal. The girls are on top of them. And everybody's just watching this like, oh my God. Like, these people are so ridiculous, bro. It's so ridiculous. NXT is absurd. This is some absurd shit right here, man. I laughed my ass off at it, though. You know? And what made it so funny is I know that there was a particularly mousy, nun-like guy in England who was typing up, these people are so horny. They're so desperately, irreversibly horny, irrevocably horny. I can't believe they did this in a wrestling ring. They defiling our ring with this, the great sport of professional wrestling. It is an absolute embarrassment. And I was just sitting back like, man, what the fuck? It's silly as shit. It's sort of lighthearted, you know. It wasn't too over the top. But of course, everybody was like, they just had an orgy on NXT. Like, they legit just kind of had like a 4-way in public. What the fuck? Yes, it was too far. Before you even ask the question, yes, it was too far. Yes, it was too much. No, they shouldn't have done this. No, they should not have done this. But they did. And that's what makes it so funny. Is that NXT know that they know better than this. They don't have to do no shit like this, man. Shawn remains. How could you go into the creative meeting and be Shawn Michaels and sit there and listen to this guy pitch you this? Let alone be one of the performers. You imagine Shawn sitting there giggling his ass off at this. Like, this is fucking hilarious. This is going to be great. You know, Scott would get a kick out of this. This was silly as shit. It was super silly, and it did trigger a lot of people. It was stunning heterosexuality. How dare they? How dare they be heterosexual on TV? The last thing is the Creed brothers. They showed up. They were really mad. They were fighting mad, and they don't know who attacked them. And they said that if you attacked us, be men and come out and fight us. Come out here and fight us right now. MSK came out there. They did the hey yo and got booed. They were getting booed from the beginning. They got booed when the music started to play. They got booed. They was like, hey yo, boo. They just got washed in boos. I sat back, of course, with a grin on my face because I've been booing these motherfuckers for a year. They suck. But I was told it was all Izzy and her parents. It was all Izzy and her parents. They created this cult within the NXT community and they were booing MSK. Yeah, what's the excuse now? Besides the fact that they fucking suck. These boos are even greater now than they were before. They denied beating up the Creed brothers, but said the Creed brothers are interrupted their tag team title match. They didn't like them, so they don't like the Creed brothers that much anymore. Imperium showed up. It was nice of them. They was up in the bird's nest, laughing at everybody in the ring. Said that all these guys are disrespectful and shang to our great sport. Then said that they're willing to give them a title shot, give everybody a title shot. And they made the challenge for the triple threat match. And I instantaneously was like, ooh. No tag team championship in WWE is being challenged for in a straight up tag team match. Every championship in WWE that is being defended WrestleMania weekend is being defended in a multiple team match. Every single one. Except the women's tag team titles in NXT, which I don't think, that might be the only one. Where it might be one team versus one team. Every other one is going to be doubles, triples, quadruples, ladders, some other shit. Absolutely floored at this, brother. Gotta say, floored by this. Not surprised by it, but floored by it. That's for sure. Imperium, I liked them, but I really love watching MSK get booed. They were wearing NWO shirts, got booed. They said they didn't beat up the Creed brothers. The crowd chanted bullshit into the microphones. Nobody believes them. They need more people. Who are you going to blame this on? I'm waiting for the articles, dog. Waiting for the articles to pop up. Gonna blame it on, I don't know, the ghost of Johnny Gargano or some shit. Who are you gonna blame? You gonna blame Bruce? You gonna blame Vince? You gonna blame Kevin Dunn? We should probably have a pool. Like a dead pool. Everybody put in and see who do you think that the wrestling media is gonna blame MSK getting booed on? Is it gonna be Izzy and her parents again? Press A. Press B if you think it's gonna be Vince McMahon. Press C if you think it's going to be Bruce Pritchard. D for Shawn Michaels, or E for somebody else and put a name. My money is they're going to blame Vince. They blame everything on Vince. Anyway, Malcolm Bivens. He's still investigating, trying to figure out what happened to his Creed brothers. He went and talked to Malik, Blade, and Idris Enofe, and he also was talking to the Grizzly Young Veterans to try to figure out where they were. Now, he was on Malik, Blade, and Idris Enofe was on them because those two guys had jumped some guys before. And they were trying to explain that they jumped the security dudes because those security dudes were getting very, very close to Mandy Rose and Toxic Attraction. And Malcolm Bivens was like, brother, it is only March. To be so horny and over the top. And Grizzly Young Veteran said, look, if I knew that Imperium was going to give out tag team title matches, we'd have jumped you assholes 2 weeks ago. Which I think actually, that makes sense. Like, if we know we could have got a tag team title match out of this deal, we'd have beat you up 2 weeks ago. So the Creed brothers got really mad about that. And they ended up making a match between the two teams. Grizzly Young Veterans versus the Creed brothers next week. That's fine. But, so, it remains a mystery who beat up the Creed brothers. Now, I don't know who it would be. It depends on who you're trying to turn heel, or it could be MSK. I think it'd probably be better off being MSK. But since it was in the parking lot, Legado del Fantasma is probably still your best guess. But they've already kind of ruled them out. They've already said it's not them. So we've ruled out at least 4 or 5 tag teams already, because I think we've already ruled out Briggs and Jensen too, right? So it might be a new debuting tag team. That might be pretty cool. Or it might be a tag team we haven't seen in a while. That could be cool too. But in any event, the Creed brothers, who jumped them, I guess we'll answer that question when they become tag team champions again, or when they become tag team champions to Stand and Deliver. Maybe the next week we'll answer the question of who attacked them. So I like that we got that at least going on. So the North American Championship scene is continuing next week. It's going to be Roderick Strong versus Solo Sikoa, and it's going to be Grayson Waller versus Akid. And the winners of those matches will both go into the ladder match against Carmelo Hayes and Santos Escobar. So that ought to be fun. Now, I don't think Akid doesn't need to lose, but he's got an excuse, and it's called Sanga outside the ring. Grayson Waller kind of needs to win, and as far as I'm concerned, in order to maintain his momentum, he needs to win. Roderick Strong is in NXT UK. I think he already shot the stuff that he was doing over there. So he's back already, apparently. Interesting stuff, because I just found out he was even going over to NXT UK to work a couple of matches. And he's already back. Now he's, being threatened to put in this ladder match. I think that you probably go with Roderick Strong and you go with Grayson Waller. I think they're going to repackage Akid, and maybe Roderick Strong will lose so that he can go over to NXT UK on a more extensive vacation over there, and you can let Solo Sikoa get sort of closer to a championship so he can get a spotlight. That would be nice, wouldn't it? That would be nice, but I don't know. The ladder match stipulation still doesn't sit well with me, but I'm okay with the qualifying matches. I think they're going to beat Akid because they're going to repackage them. So, but the Roderick Strong and Solo Sikoa thing ought to be very interesting. But let me know what you guys think of all of this. What do you guys thought of Ziggler versus LA Knight? What do you guys think of what's going on with Cameron Grimes and Tommaso Ciampa? Obviously, I think Ciampa's on his way to Raw, and him sitting on that turnbuckle, I think he saw Butch and was like, oh, Jesus, what are they going to do to me? They going to call me T-Bone or some shit, cornbread or some garbage like that. They're not going to let him keep Tommaso. That's not going to happen. Everybody just call him Ciampa. They're not going to let him keep Tommaso. Tommaso is too weird. And I think that it's pretty unique. And Vince was talking about, I like unique, stupendous, fantabulous, or whatever. But I think he's going to look at Tommaso and be like, what the fuck is that? We're going to call you Tommy Ciampa. Oh, that would be so weird. But, before we leave, I did see some people say that you could do a storyline in which Ciampa wrestles Seth Rollins. For starters, that would mean Ciampa would have to wrestle twice in one day, because Stand and Deliver is the same day as night one. And we're guessing that Seth Rollins is going to wrestle on night one. Now, the idea being that NXT Black and Gold's first champion and NXT Black and Gold's last champion are going against each other. That's not much of a story, but it's something. It's an interesting little showcase. You can make the story about NXT. I don't think it'll occur, though. He's just somebody I didn't really consider and really didn't think of, because he doesn't really have any footing on the main roster in WWE yet. So he's just only been up there a couple of times. He doesn't have any solid footing there. But that's interesting. Somebody had that idea for Ciampa versus Rollins, and definitely I want to see it one day. But I don't think this WrestleMania is the right place for it. I think we got to get Ciampa over first, and then we can talk about him wrestling Seth Rollins at WrestleMania and stuff, But let me know what you guys think. Like, share, and subscribe. And I will talk to you guys later, man. Peace.